I found that there's one major missing element in our lives when we find ourselves in toxic relationships. That missing element is really the building block for everything that's powerful in our life. It's the thing that changes our life forever. And it's the thing that once we grasp it and have it and hold it, we will not accept toxicity anymore in our life. If you're ready to learn more about that and how to find it, you'll want to watch this video. Welcome back, friends. Ashley Berges here today. And today I want to talk about that element that's missing from our lives when we find ourselves in toxic relationship. That element that's a building block of everything that makes us powerful, everything that makes us whole, and everything that makes us understand who we truly are. And what is that element? Okay, that element is self-acceptance. And we think about self-acceptance, and let's define it real quick. Self-acceptance is defined as the awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses. Now, I really don't know about weaknesses, but the strengths and the weaknesses, accepting that, being realistic, right? Being realistic about our talents, our capacity, our ability, but also seeing our general worth. Seeing our worth no matter what. And being able to feel that satisfaction of being us, despite any deficiencies that we feel that we have, and regardless of any of our past behaviors and our past choices. Okay? That's what self-acceptance is, being able to accept ourselves no matter what. Okay, not lying to ourselves, right? Not sweeping anything under the rug, but being able to see our past, being able to examine our past, being able to understand it and unpack it, and then accept ourselves for what we've gone through. I find it interesting because I've looked online about self-acceptance. I've looked online about how to get self-acceptance, how to attain self-acceptance, and what I've found, honestly, is wrong. It's wrong. I found that people ask you to, well, you should just shush your inner critic. Just shush it. Just quiet it down, which is completely wrong and completely misguided. The other option that I've seen online is, just say a bunch of affirmations. Just come up with a bunch of affirmations and you'll feel better. Okay, neither of these work. Okay, these are wrong and misguided. The first reason why it's misguided is one, you're not supposed to hush your inner thoughts. You're supposed to get them out and inventory them and understand where they're coming from so we can begin to let them go. Hushing them just makes them louder, okay? Have you ever tried to hush somebody that was like saying something, you're like, shh? Well, they kept talking, right? They kept talking because they didn't want to be hushed. They didn't want to be shushed. They didn't want any of that. They wanted to be heard out, right? But the same thing is in our own thoughts. We need to hear what they're saying. We need to hear what our own thoughts are saying so we can understand what's really happening in our mind. The second thing about the affirmations is affirmations are great, but you can't put affirmations on top of other stuff, okay? We have to really get through the muck and yuck of some of the thoughts that we're having to be able to understand the implication of those thoughts and understand how to begin to let them go. So how do we do that? The first thing we can do about self-acceptance is begin to create that inventory, right? Have an inventory of our personal thoughts about ourselves. Not about relationships we're in, not about other people, but ourselves. Remember that when we think about other people in our lives, that's fine, but it's also a diversion. It's a diversion tactic to take us away from our thoughts about ourselves to understand our true thoughts and how we feel about ourselves. Remember, every thought that we have about ourselves is either about us accepting ourselves or us not accepting ourselves or finding fault in what we do. By being aware and taking inventory, that means that we become aware of each and every thought that we have about ourselves, each and every feeling that we have about ourselves. Because remember, the thought predicates the feeling, right? I have to have some sort of thought, even if it's very quiet. Even if the thought's been around for a very long time and it's taken over, the thought's still there. And that's when I have that feeling about myself, right? That's when I feel bad or sad about what I've created or what I haven't created in life, right? And that's when we start feeling down on ourselves. That's very important. The second thought about the concept of inventorying our personal thoughts is that we're able to understand as we begin to unpack these thoughts that our thoughts control us. They actually control how we actually act. They control what we do, right? So when we have negative thoughts about ourselves, and we have those negative thoughts, we think negative things about ourselves. We subsequently treat ourselves poorly, right? If I'm thinking negative about myself and I'm thinking like, I can't do this, or I haven't been able to do that, or I feel like I'm a loser or whatever, I'm going to treat myself poorly, right? I'm going to do things that are directly related to bringing myself down, to putting myself in possibly a bad situation, a painful situation, or even a dangerous situation. Let's talk about some of the examples of how we do treat ourselves poorly when we have those negative thoughts. The first is based on the concept of self-sabotaging behavior, right? All this, when we treat ourselves poorly, we're sabotaging ourselves. We're self-sabotaging ourselves. That's what we're doing, okay? That's the whole concept. And so what are some examples of that self-sabotaging behavior? Well, overeating, binge drinking, over drinking, doing drugs, right? Sex addiction, starving ourselves, right? Not actually eating, not sleeping, choosing not to sleep, and also and ultimately toxic relationships. These choices of self-sabotage keep us in a constant inability to focus on our true thoughts, right? We are judging ourselves, judging the other people involved, judging what we're doing, and it's also a diversion tactic to be able to get into those inventory of our thoughts. Remember, if I think really poorly about myself, I don't care about what happens to myself. If I feel lesser than, or I feel like a loser, or whatever that looks like, I'm going to do things to probably jeopardize my health and my well-being. And that could be multiple different types of self-sabotaging behavior. The best way to begin to understand how we truly feel about ourselves, because our thoughts can be elusive and it can be really challenging to be able to quiet our mind, because many of us have what we call monkey mind, right? If you've ever done yoga, people talk about, oh, everybody's got the monkey mind, you got to focus, right? But the monkey mind means you're thinking a million things at one time, right? You can't even grasp how many thoughts you have, and that's why we have to do an inventory. But sometimes before we do the inventory, we actually have to catch the self-sabotaging behavior. If you can catch the self-sabotaging behavior, you can understand that you actually are self-sabotaging yourself. I have a specific proven technique to do this. I've worked with clients from all around the world, thousands of clients, to help them to figure this out. And I want you to start right now with something simple. Just a little simpler than inventorying your thoughts. I want you to actually catch yourself in the sabotaging behavior as you're doing it. Once you begin to see your actions and your choices, you'll begin to realize this is definitely self-sabotaging behavior. It's not just random actions, but it's based on the personal thoughts you have about yourself. These thoughts that you have about yourself actually prepare you and preempt you to create this self-sabotaging behavior. And you're going to catch it as you catch it fully. Many of you might be the type that, well, you just don't have time to eat. You don't have time to eat, so you're starving constantly. What's the reason why you're starving yourself? Maybe you come home and you binge drink. Okay, what are some of the thoughts that went through your head prior to doing that? You know, maybe you're in a toxic relationship and you found yourself in constant, consistent toxic relationships, and you're always trying to figure out the other person. What's wrong with them? Why did they do that? Why did they do that to me? And trying to get to the bottom of it, being the PI and getting no answers and more questions. Again, another diversion tactic, but it also shows that you are putting yourself in positions where it's not good for you. When someone treats you poorly, that's you making a decision that you deserve this, right? Even if it's someone else carrying out the act, you've put yourself in a relationship that makes you feel bad, that puts you down, that makes you feel weak and questions your ability, right? Based on the fact that you feel bad about yourself in your own inventory of your mind. I want you to begin to catch that self-sabotaging behavior and be able to see it. And if you can, start a journal on it. And if you get really close to understanding the self-sabotaging behavior and you figure it out as you're doing it, try to analyze what were some of the thoughts that were taking place right before I chose this path. What were some of the thoughts that came into my mind right before I picked up the beer? Or right when I was thinking about picking up the beer? Or what was some of the thoughts that went through my mind right before I was calling my ex that I know I should not be in a relationship with? In the next video that I'll be talking about self-acceptance, now that you've been able to analyze that the self-sabotage is real, I'll help you to take that next step to improvement and being able to actually focus on how to get better and how to take that personal inventory so we stop this self-sabotaging behavior. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video, please like it and share it with your friends, family, and on your YouTube page as well. And in the meantime, if there's something that you've learned from this video, Or if there's something that you've taken and realized in your own life about self-sabotage or a way that you overcame it, please put that in the comment section below. We also have a new membership opportunity here on the channel, and you can actually click on that join button right there if you want to learn more about the options and the opportunities there. And look forward to seeing you in the next video, and don't forget to live your true life.